Welcome, everybody, to the Wildly Thriving podcast. Today, we are here to listen to Avani Poudel's story. She went from being not able to walk or function in normal daily life after being exposed to toxic mold, Lyme disease, and Epstein-Barr virus. After seeking out help from a holistic health coach, she eventually overcame her total nervous system shutdown, healed herself with holistic nutrition and detoxification systems, and then later decided to become a health coach so she could help other people struggling with the same exact thing. Welcome to the Wildly Thriving Show, Avani. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Miranda. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy to be here too and just really share with other people that nervous system healing and understanding the human biology really from the ground up is so crucial when it comes to healing our bodies. And even if someone has not been through mold toxicity, hasn't had Lyme disease, I feel like it's still really important to understand what preventative measures are because it's very important to make sure that we are functioning optimally and that there's more to us that are not just our lab tests and numbers.
Absolutely. It's so crucial to understand that it's not just diet, it's not just supplementation. There is an energetic element to our physical well-being, and it's something that cannot be overlooked because oftentimes that's the starting point, right? Is the stress that is unaddressed. So I would love to hear what your story was like, how long you were in the mold for, what your symptoms were like, and what was the way out for you.
Yeah, for sure. So it all started when I first got diagnosed with Hashimoto's. And I've always grown up in a household that's very holistic care, very Ayurvedic. So I knew that my immune system didn't decide to just wake up one day and start attacking my thyroid. And I was super young at the time too. So I knew that there had to be other answers. So my choice was pretty immediate. I chose to go down the route of functional medicine. I was extremely dismissed by an endocrinologist. It was one of the worst doctor's experiences that I've had. So I quickly chose down to go down the route of functional medicine, where I then found that there were elevated levels of mycotoxins in my body. And I knew that the mold was either coming from my house or from my food. Based on my diet, I eat a very, very whole food diet. It was impossible for it to be coming from my food. So I then found out and had an environmental engineer come in and found out that it was coming from my home. I was living in the black mold for, I want to say it was just about 2 years. I want to say it was more of a year and a half, but I didn't experience the symptoms to the intensity that I did until I then got Lyme disease as well a couple months shortly after. So it was definitely a whirlwind of things happening. And the craziest part was probably finding out something new every doctor's visit, where first you just think it's mold, and then you find out it's Lyme, and then you find out it's EBV, and then the next thing you know, you can't walk, you can't do normal things, and it's impossible to explain to others why you can't. So I'm just so happy to again be here and really be able to talk about what our nervous system is, what it actually means to have good nervous system health, because it's not talked about enough, and I cannot emphasize that enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the difficult thing to really address because it's never just one root cause. And I tend to not use that word as much as I used to before, because when we say we're going after the root cause, we think it's just one thing when really they're stacked on top of each other, or there's like your Achilles heel, the straw that broke the camel's back, and then all of these other lifestyle factors, environmental factors, your diet, they all just kind of layer on top of it. So I like to compare it as like a bucket, right? We have this bucket of toxins and it can only hold so much. It can only hold so much stress, so much input. And once it starts to overflow, then you start to get those severe symptoms, not being able to walk, not being able to wake up in the morning or make it through your day energy wise. So we have to reduce the toxic load overall from every area of your health, not just one or two, right? So I would love to hear a little bit more about your experience with healing your nervous system. Like, what was the most pivotal lifestyle habit that you implemented that you started to see like an extreme change in your physical health as well as your emotional and your stress levels.
Yeah, so the number one thing that I swear by is getting sunlight in your eyes within 10 minutes of waking up and standing barefoot in the grass. So, the more and more that I've learned, the earth literally has healing properties, and the free electrons in the earth have the ability to balance out your nervous system, really balance out that inflammation that you're feeling. And also, sunlight in your eyes first thing in the morning. So, the body operates on a circadian clock, right? That's why it's so important to wake up at the same time every day, go to bed at the same time every day, really make sure that we're getting in bowel movements and just every normal human process. So, with a dysregulated nervous system, your body almost forgets what time it is. Like, your body doesn't know if it's 2 a.m., if it's 10 p.m., if it's 1 a.m., and that it just continues to be this cycle of it stays confused. So, of course, when a system is confused, your thyroid's not going to work properly, your bowel movements are not going to move properly. So, when you get in morning sunlight, you're able to tell your body, hey, it's morning, it's time to wake up. And that has regulated my nervous system in more ways that I can express. It's balanced out my cortisol patterns as well. I naturally wake up now without any sort of alarm. I know exactly when my melatonin is releasing. So, really, really getting my body back in a normal rhythm is everything. I attribute everything to getting in that morning sunlight.
Yeah, it's a fundamental to your routine, right? So if our routine begins with instant dopamine hits, right? We wake up in the morning and we roll over and we look at Instagram.
What
Like that
you
is
know.
such a hit to your nervous system that people don't really understand because it's so common. We just do it. You know, it's a knee jerk reaction to wake up, check the phone. Okay, what do we have going on for the day? Get the plans going and whatever. And it's just, we're leading the day with chaos. And that just totally goes against our physiology, you know, our natural rhythms. We are one and the same with nature. We are a part of nature, and we have to, you know, lean into that a little bit more and get back to that. It's fundamental. So I want to dive in just a little bit more into the mold protocol that you did, because a lot of people don't really understand or know that maybe their chronic inflammatory condition, whether it's an autoimmune condition or a skin condition, they don't realize that it's something that is literally hidden behind their walls. So, like, go into that a little bit. Like, how did you discover that it was mold? And then, what was the remediation like? What was that whole process like? And then, kind of dig in a little bit more into what your symptoms were.
Yeah, for sure. So the reason that I knew it was mold again was because I did an organic acids test at my functional doctor and I saw elevated levels of mycotoxins in my body. And so I had an environmental engineer come in and test our house. I would say, and I want to clarify for anybody, getting a petri dish on Amazon and putting it out and seeing what grows in it is you give yourself a headache and you make yourself go into a panic for no reason. I thought that that was the way to do it. I thought that that would give you answers, but I feel like I've become a mold genius with, going through this whole process. But every home has normal levels of two strains of mold. It's aspergillus and penicillium. So if you put out a petri dish and that strain grows on the petri dish, you could very well be in that normal range and have no idea. So you have to get in a professional. And kind of to answer your question about protocols and supplementation, just as you have to get in a professional to find out what strain of mold is growing in your home, you have to get testing done. For example, my vitamin C was tanked to the ground. It was a scary level of tanked. And if I hadn't gotten that testing, then I wouldn't know that, hey, vitamin C is going to be extremely crucial. And yes, you can make inferences and you can make guesses of, hey, I probably need vitamin D for immune support, vitamin C, I need glutathione to detox. But I really think that testing is a really good basis. But so what I did is I was on different herbs and supplements, like different tinctures, and I would ingest those sublingually. And I also took activated charcoal as well to bind to the toxins in my gut. Really, really put an emphasis on liver detox. I did something called push and catch, where essentially you take the supplement, it pushes everything out of your liver, and then shortly after you take activated charcoal, so it catches all of those toxins. Also supplemented with a glutathione, NAC, and everything of that sort. So the most important thing was getting out of the house, and as important as detoxing the mold is, again, I emphasize again just the nervous system regulation of making your body feel safe again has been the highlight of my life for the past year, and it will be the highlight of my life for the rest of my life because stress never stops.
Mm.
It just keeps going and going and going the more you have on your plate, the older that you get. So I think really taking a moment to come back to yourself and making your body feel like it's okay is important. And lastly, touching on that, same thing with what you said about being on your phone and rolling over and going on it first thing in the morning. Your body doesn't know that you're going on your phone. Your body thinks it's overstimulated. So cortisol patterns are going to be dysregulated. You're not going to be able to sleep at night. It's going to make you more tired throughout the day. And since it's such a common thing, people are wondering, well, why am I so tired all the time? And I really think that a fundamental part of healing is going back to basics.
Yeah, we can't overlook the fundamentals, and that's something that I preach in my coaching and when we're troubleshooting and we're getting on a coaching call and maybe they're getting impatient with the program and I'm just like, okay, well, let's go down the check boxes and let's see what you've actually been doing. And 9 times out of 10, they were doing things that were going against themselves. And it's like, okay, we need to do some habit work on that because a lot of times it's stemming from an unconscious pattern and it's coming from a place of self-sabotage, that those deep rooted beliefs that people develop after they experience a chronic illness, they believe that their body is broken, and so then they will act out and create a reality where they will continue to see that inner belief. So your inner world will always project outwardly into a reality. And that might sound woo woo to some, but they've been proving it with science now, you know? And they've even, this is kind of, a separate thing, but they've even proven that the fears that you have can get passed down through generations upon conception. So we need to address those unconscious thought patterns. If you're having problems in your life, or if there's something that you're constantly meeting a brick wall with, you have an unconscious pattern that is running your life in a negative direction. So that's something that totally needs to be addressed. And it all starts with the basics: getting your morning sunlight, hydrating properly. And that doesn't mean just drinking endless amounts of water. That means remineralized water, purified water. That is typically one of the last things that, people have a hard time addressing because, we all grew up drinking out of the tap or out of the hose. So we don't assume that this water is loaded with toxic crap. And we think that our refrigerator filter is filtering it out perfectly enough. And it's not true, especially here in Vegas. There's like 450 times the level of arsenic that should be in there, or there should be none in there. But you get what I'm saying? Like, it's extreme levels. And like I was mentioning earlier with the toxin bucket and the toxic load, all of those things add up. So that ends up being one of the last things that people actually address and be like, oh, wow, I didn't know how much this was really holding me back. So, what were some of the things that you had to change within your lifestyle habits that you felt were holding you back? And then what were some of the supplements that you used to overcome the mold? What was the most pivotal for you?
Yeah, so I really loved what you just said. I think that really really targeting understanding what that energetic frequency means and how it can play a role in chronic illness is so important. And also, I've heard a lot of women that, even I talk to, they feel like their body is working against them with chronic illnesses, with situations like Hashimoto's. But I like to remind everybody that your body wants to heal, right? So the symptoms that you may be getting, the chronic fatigue, the brain fog, it's not your body working against you, it's your body screaming for help. You just have to know where to look. And that's the biggest problem, and that's the biggest thing that I like to fix with the clients that I work with is, hey, you have all these lab tests done, you're doing all the right things, but nobody's correctly telling you where to go from there. So no, your body is not fighting you. Your body doesn't hate you. Your body wants to see you get better. And it's crazy how quickly the body will recover as well. Even women that, are on thyroid medication for their entire lives, eventually they're able to get to a point where, hey, your thyroid's working again once you give the body what it needs. But to answer your question, in terms of the most important supplement, I would say probably liver support. So I would say glutathione would be a huge one when it comes to the mold detox itself. Also, there were a lot of other things that, I just need in terms of like vitamin B was a big one, vitamin C was another one, vitamin D for immune support as well. That was another one. But really, that glutathione, I think, was the most important because based on my lab test, based on looking at the low liver functioning that I had to get everything moving. So
Mhm.
as much as it did benefit me supplement wise, I still again go back to the fact that supplements, no amount of supplements that you take will do anything if your body is scared, if your body thinks that it has to be in survival mode all the time. So I would almost argue against supplements being that first option. And I'd almost argue, hey, I think that sleeping 8 hours a night and putting your phone away 90 minutes before bed is more valuable than any supplement you'll ever take. And that kind of goes back to answer your question on what I had to give up. So, in order to live the lifestyle that I am now, I would say eating out with friends is something that I had to give up, which that food has never really been that much. I've never really put that much of a value on it, but food can kind of tie into my social life. So, not really being able to drive anymore because of everything that was going on meant not socializing and not seeing my friends and not seeing other people and really feeling isolated to a certain extent, but I knew that it wasn't forever and it was just what my body needed in that time. And I had to prioritize myself because with everything in life, you have a decision. It's like, hey, are you going to stay up till 2 in the morning today and risk feeling terrible for the next couple days? Or does feeling better mean more to you? And I think that's something that I really see with women is I understand that certain things are hard to accomplish. It's hard to put your phone away and go to bed early. It's hard to make time for yourself in the morning, but at a certain point, all of that is just noise. And every excuse that you make is noise. And if you want something bad enough in life, or if something matters enough to you to accomplish, you will make that happen, whichever way that it may be. And I really see that in who I am as a human and my coaching style as well. I am very understanding, I'm very empathetic, but I also know that, hey, are you looking to make a change or not? Like you have to do the right things.
Yeah, yeah, that's something I talk about so much is, are you wanting a change or are you committed to the change? So you have to look at all of the greats in the world. Anybody that's ever accomplished anything that is significant, they didn't wish for it. They didn't hope for it. First of all, they visualized themselves doing it in their head and they believed that they could do it. And guess what? They were committed and they showed that they were committed through actions, micro actions, micro disciplines. And that's the thing that a lot of people struggle with is overcoming that blockage with the feeling that they need to like demand themselves and to do it. They think it's a loss when they are making these sacrifices, and it's not a sacrifice. It's simply a delayed, what is it called? Delayed gratification. You're getting delayed gratification, and we've become as a society so addicted to these instant dopamine hits, like we were talking about earlier. Waking up in the morning and going straight to your phone, that's an instant dopamine hit. And I would recommend, if you're struggling with that addiction, and I will say this is no shame, most people are addicted to their phones and they just will not admit it. Okay, most people spend way more time on their phones than they would like to admit. If we go back and we look at all of the screen time statistics on our phone, it'd probably be terrifying. So, there's a book called Dopamine Detox, and that would be very profound for those of you that may be struggling with overcoming that. It's not that you're a bad person or that you're lazy or that you suck. It's that you have an unconscious habitual program programmed into you. And also, the system, the social media, and all that stuff is designed to rob your attention and to hold your attention for longer than you would even like to. So that's a little nugget, a little bit of a recommendation for you all there. But What else do I want to get to know about you, Avani? I want to hear more about um, just just how difficult it was to exist in the world when you were going through that mold. I know you touched a little bit about having to remove yourself from friends and whatnot, but like, what was or what were some of the things that really helped you get through that? Did you lean on reading? Were you trying to just learn everything that you could? Did you rely on family? What helped you get through that scenario? Because that I can't imagine not being able to walk or to be able to drive or to even be able to like get up in the morning.
Yeah, so that's a great question and it definitely hits home. But I would say the number one thing that I leaned on was my willpower of knowing that I wasn't going to accept this as an answer and that I was going to get better one day. Like that is really point blank what it was. I did not lean on friends. I didn't lean on family. I really leaned on the fact that there is an answer out there somewhere. And I attribute so much of that to the functional approach because a lot of women don't know that there's a functional approach. And it's so upsetting. A lot of women don't know that, hey, XYZ can be contributing to immune system dysregulation. So, because I grew up in a house that was very holistic, Ayurvedic, I knew that, hey, what conventional medicine always tells us is not true, and there is another way out. And it was an extremely hard time. I used to be very big into exercise and fitness. I had a very body build style training regimen that I'd always liked to follow, although I never competed. And I just remember waking up, and there was a couple months time period where I could no longer go to the gym anymore. Every single workout I had was an immediate crash afterwards. And I had no idea what was wrong with me, and I think that was the hardest part, was not being able to explain it to anybody because some people see it as, "Oh, you're fine, it's gonna pass, you're probably just tired or you're lazy." You can't explain what's going on in your head. And there is no feeling that's more dismissive than not being able to say what's happening. So, it really shattered my identity, no longer having the gym and having that part of myself. But over time, as I really learned what real healing meant, not being able to exercise in that way stopped mattering to me because I understood, hey, well, what is the obsession with working out anyway? Like, what am I trying to mask? What am I trying to hide? What fear do I have to face today? So, although it was a crazy journey and it still continues to be, I'm still working on getting back to the gym. I think it's been about a month since I've gone. Right now, I'm just focusing on movement for lymph flow. So, although I am going to the gym, I'm not really moving weight the way that I used to be. But again, going back to your original question, I know that I will get there one day. And it's just so amazing in a way that all of this has happened because it's allowed me to now step into a career that fulfills me. It's now allowed me to see the triggers behind, what the gym really meant for me. And it's just made every relationship in my life extremely healthy. And most importantly, the one with myself, because my relationship with myself was really bad before this happened. And you just don't realize how dysregulated you are until you learn what it means to heal. Like what you said about, people being addicted to their phones, until you know the true piece of winding down, why would you want to put your phone away at night? Right? It's like, oh, the one extra scroll is not going to do anything. But until you really, I'm a very spiritual person. So until you have that silence with yourself where you can finally hear yourself, it's not the jibber jabber of what you have to do every day, or he said this, she said that. You actually hear what your soul is trying to tell you. Until you experience that, like, you're gonna want to be on your phone. But once you finally know what that's like, putting the phone away is like a piece of cake. It's easy.
Yeah, the disconnection from the higher power that be like, it doesn't have to be God, it doesn't have to be spirit. It's just there's something outside of you that is greater than you that you can actually get downloads from and can get guidance from. But if we're constantly blocked by being in lower vibrational states, fear, worry, guilt, shame, all of these low vibe states, block the messages. So we're completely dysregulated and misguided in our life. And that's why we constantly lean on external sources to regulate our nervous system instead of going internally. And I have to relate to you on that bodybuilding thing too, because I did 3 shows, and each show I actually got worse and worse and worse. So it was very frustrating to me because I'm like, I'm training harder, I'm doing the program, I'm doing all of this, but then I'm looking worse and I'm not looking how I want to. And it's because my gut was wrecked. I had so many infections. My B-glucuronidase was through the roof. I was basically just recirculating so much estrogen. So I was super moody. I was just off the charts, just in the opposite direction of what I should have been. And I wish I would have known about functional health back during that time, and that I wouldn't have been so hard on myself, because after all of that happened, I ended up developing an eating disorder. You know what I mean? Because of all of the shame and like feeling like I was inadequate and I was a failure because I didn't reach the goals that I wanted to reach. And I felt like I just couldn't get there, you know? And I had to take a moment where I had to pause and say, okay, why am I attaching myself to this identity? And it's because, oh, 2 years ago, I told somebody that I wanted to be an IFBB pro, so now I have to do it or else I'm a failure in their eyes. And it's just like, but that's not for me. It's going against me to be continuing on this path, knowing full well that it's harming myself. So I had to do a full stop, just like you did, and focus on, not doing all of these super masculine exercises and workouts and whatnot, and being super like cortisol demanding, and pulling back a little bit. And okay, well, maybe we'll do a little bit more feminine flow workouts, or like a little bit of the mini trampoline. That is my favorite thing for lymphatic flow. I know some
Yeah.
people have like vibration plates, but like I like the fact that it gets my heart rate up and that I'm actually like moving my body and it's fun. I think we should all lean into some of those childlike habits that we have, because the child inside of us is not gone. We may be older now, but we all are still that child inside. And, especially if we have childhood trauma, but that's a topic for another day. We'll get into that. So that's a whole nother podcast. But I just want to, end with, figuring out, okay, where can people find you online? What's your website? What's your social media? And then if you have any special offers, we will put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So online, I'm mostly active on Instagram. That's where the majority of my business lies. So it is at Healing with Avani on Instagram and on TikTok and across all other platforms as well. Yeah,
Beautiful.
and then in terms of offers, all of my coaching packages are discussed via on call. So if someone's interested in kind of chatting further, if they're dealing with Lyme, nervous system regulation, dysregulation, Hashimoto's, mold toxicity, then I'd be happy to, jump on a call and really dive deeper into how I'd be able to help to see if it would be a good fit or not.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I know we didn't get to dig into too much, but the point of this is to bring awareness that you're not crazy. If you're struggling with a chronic illness, like she just said, if you have Hashimoto's, a thyroid condition, that is a downstream side effect of something deeper. And you should lean into seeking out a holistic health coach and somebody that does the investigative work, because you're not going to be met with that in the conventional space or even a functional doctor. That's what's crazy about it. You're going to spend a lot of money on quality lab testing with a functional or naturopathic doctor, but you're not going to get that extra oomph that you get with working with a coach one on one. They're going to actually dig into the weeds of it. What's your lifestyle like? What's your trauma history like? Because a lot of that will project outward into how you are showing up physically right now in the present time. Things from, way back 30 years ago can be showing up in the present time. So just keep that in your headspace. The point of, having this conversation is, number one, spread more awareness about mold illness, because it is hugely unaddressed, especially in the conventional space. And if you're having these crazy symptoms, you're having chronic fatigue, skin rashes, sinus issues, it may be time to reach out and do some mold testing or take an organic acids test. So that's it for today. I can't wait to have Avani back on. Maybe we'll do some case studies together and dive into a little bit more in the nitty gritty in the nervous system. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great rest of their day.
Thanks, Miranda.
Thank you.
Bye.